feared fighter jet in the world just became even scarier. The F-22 Raptor, America's crown jewel of air dominance, is no longer just a 20-year-old stealth machine. It's being reborn. On January 22, 2025, Lockheed Martin secured a $250 million contract that kicked off the biggest Raptor upgrade in history. And make no mistake, this isn't just a refresh. It's not just new paint or a faster chip. This is about making the F-22 so advanced, so untouchable, that China's J-20 and Russia's Su-57 won't even know they've already lost, until it's too late. And here's the kicker. These upgrades reveal something Washington doesn't like to say out loud. America is preparing for a fight. Stick with me, because what you're about to hear will blow your mind. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly why these Raptors are about to haunt the nightmares of enemy pilots worldwide. The infrared revolution. Let's start with the infrared defensive system, the upgrade that changes everything. Normally, fighter jets rely on radar. Radar is powerful, but it's also loud. Once you ping, you leave a trail. Enemies can jam it, detect it, or shoot back. But the F-22's new IRDS doesn't play by those rules. It uses a distributed network of infrared sensors, basically giving the jet superhuman vision. Instead of screaming with radar waves, it sees enemy aircraft through heat signatures, jet engines, air friction, even the warmth of a stealth fuselage. It can all be detected silently. And here's the scary part. This means China's stealth J-20, the jet they've bragged about endlessly, suddenly looks a whole lot less stealthy. Because you can hide from radar, but you can't hide from heat. Imagine being a J-20 pilot. You think you're invisible, but 90 kilometers away, an F-22 pilot already has you locked. You don't even know you've been spotted. Then, without radar warning, the Raptor fires an AIM-120. The very first clue you're under attack is when the missile goes active in its final seconds. By then, you're done. This system is so advanced that US generals call it a total game changer. And for good reason, because it doesn't just let the F-22 see further, it lets it kill silently. And if seeing enemies without being seen wasn't terrifying enough, the next step makes the Raptor itself vanish even further. Welcome to the new era of stealth. Stealth evolution. Now let's talk stealth. The Raptor was already the most stealthy fighter ever built. But stealth isn't static. The radars of the 1990s are not the radars of 2025. China is experimenting with quantum radar. Russia has powerful low-frequency systems designed to catch stealth jets. And here's where America had to out-engineer the world again. Enter the next-generation stealth upgrades. These included mirror-like coatings that bend radar into background noise, adaptive surfaces that reduce heat visibility, and the crown jewel, the low-drag tank and pylon system. This is wild. Traditionally, stealth jets lose stealth when they carry external fuel tanks or weapons. They light up like Christmas trees on radar. But engineers cracked the code. They designed tanks that keep the Raptor stealthy even when fully loaded. And when things get serious, the pilot can jettison those tanks mid-flight, and the wings return to a perfectly smooth stealth profile. That means Raptors can fly deep into the Pacific, engage in combat, and still vanish like a ghost. This upgrade alone changes the map. The US Air Force can now project Raptor power across thousands of miles of ocean, without relying on vulnerable refueling planes or exposed island bases. But stealth alone doesn't win wars. You need to know where every threat is, and that's where sensor fusion rewrites the rulebook. The billion-dollar eyes. If the IR system was the game changer, then sensor fusion is the monster upgrade. Raytheon scored over $1 billion to completely rebuild how the F-22 sees the battlefield. Think of it like this. The Raptor isn't just a jet anymore. It's a flying command center with supercomputers inside. Every sensor, the radar, the infrared, the electronic warfare receivers, feeds into one giant brain. That brain then shows the pilot a 3D map of the battle, updated in real time. Enemy radar? Detected. Missile launches? Detected. Even stealth aircraft with unique electromagnetic signatures? Detected. It's like the pilot has X-ray vision of the entire sky. And here's the terrifying advantage. By the time enemy pilots even realize the Raptor is nearby, the Raptor's pilot has already chosen the weapon, locked the target, and pressed the trigger. This is why analysts say the new F-22 doesn't just win dogfights, it ends them before they even begin. Yet all those eyes in the sky would mean nothing if the enemy could jam them, which is why the next upgrade focuses on dominating the electromagnetic battlefield. The Invisible Fist. Next up, electronic warfare. Modern battles aren't just about speed or missiles anymore. They're about who controls the electromagnetic spectrum. And with these upgrades, the F-22 doesn't just play defense, it goes on the attack. When enemy radar tries to lock, the Raptor can feed it fake signals, making the jet appear in the wrong place entirely. It can jam communication networks, blind missile guidance, even disrupt entire integrated air defense systems. This is huge, because both China and Russia rely on massive layered air defense networks. Normally, breaking into those would take entire strike packages of aircraft. Now, a single Raptor can tear holes in the enemy's defenses, creating corridors for US forces to slip through undetected. Imagine that. An F-22 flying into contested airspace, not only invisible itself, but actively blinding everything around it. That's not just air superiority, that's air dominance. Still, blinding the enemy only sets up the kill. So let's see what happens when you arm the Raptor with weapons built for tomorrow's wars. Weapons integration. But what's the point of seeing everything if you can't hit it? That's where the new AIM-260 Joint Advanced Tactical Missile comes in. This missile is America's answer to China's PL-15 long-range air-to-air missile. The AIM-260 is designed to outrange and outsmart anything flying today. We're talking about a missile that can be launched from stealth, guided silently by infrared cues, and strike targets far beyond visual range. With this, F-22 pilots can take down enemies before they even know what's happening. And the Raptor can now carry more of them, thanks to internal bay redesigns. That means it can remain fully stealthy while packing a bigger punch than ever before. Bottom line, if you're flying against a modernized F-22, you won't even see the pilot who kills you. Of course, all that firepower has to be controlled by human hands, which is why the Air Force reinvented the very helmet on the pilot's head. The future helmet. Of course, all of this technology is only useful if the pilot can manage it. That's why the Air Force rolled out a new helmet system, a complete revolution. This helmet projects all critical data directly onto the visor. Threats, targets, navigation, all overlaid on the real world. Even better, it uses eye tracking and head movements. The pilot doesn't need to fiddle with switches. They just look, lock, and fire. It's like something straight out of a video game, except it's real, and it's deadly. Pilots who tested it said the system was transformational. With this helmet, an F-22 pilot can fight multiple enemies at once, while staying fully aware of everything in the sky. And this pilot-centered revolution makes even more sense when you realize where the Raptor will be flying, straight into the vast Pacific Theater. Pacific Theater focus. Now here's the big question. Why all these upgrades now? The answer is simple. The Pentagon is looking across the Pacific. China is expanding its reach, building artificial islands, threatening Taiwan, and modernizing its entire military with one goal: push America out of Asia. The F-22 upgrades are America's answer. Extended-range fuel systems mean Raptors can fly across the Pacific without relying on vulnerable forward bases. Advanced sensors mean they can operate in the most jammed, contested environments. And electronic warfare upgrades mean they can break through China's massive defense networks. In other words, this isn't just about a better jet. It's about preparing for the next war. But preparing for a Pacific war isn't just about ideas. It's about actually building and upgrading these jets, which leads to massive production challenges. Manufacturing challenges. But making all of this happen isn't easy. The US only ever built 187 F-22s. Of those, just 143 are combat capable. Upgrading every single one means pulling jets out of service in cycles, without ever leaving the fleet vulnerable. Lockheed Martin's Marietta plant and Raytheon's Texas facility are working in sync. but this is one of the most complex modernization projects in history. Every wire, every sensor, every weapon bay has to be modified, tested, and certified. And quality control? Brutal. Because if even one system fails in combat, the consequences are catastrophic. And with challenges this big, you know the price tag will be enormous. So let's break down the billions being poured into America's Raptors. The money, $8 billion and counting. So how much does this cost? The Air Force has committed nearly $8 billion through 2030. That's about $45 million per aircraft. Expensive? Sure. But here's the kicker. Building a new jet with these capabilities would cost hundreds of billions. So upgrading the F-22 isn't just powerful, it's cost-effective. And with Congress strongly backing the program, this investment is locked in. Because no politician wants to be the one who let America lose its edge in the sky. But here's the hidden truth. These billions aren't just for today's Raptors. They're also building the fighter of tomorrow. Future implications. Here's the secret most people miss. The F-22 isn't just being upgraded for itself. It's also serving as the testbed for America's sixth-generation fighter, part of the Next Generation Air Dominance (NGAD) program. That means the helmet, the sensors, the weapons, all of it is a trial run for the fighter of the 2030s and beyond. The Raptors of today are paving the way for the warplanes of tomorrow. In fact, upgraded Raptors are expected to command autonomous drone wingmen in the future, turning one jet into a whole squadron. That's not science fiction. That's the next battlefield. And if you think America is excited, imagine how nervous China and Russia are as they scramble to respond. How enemies react. So how are America's rivals reacting? China is in panic mode, accelerating its sixth-gen fighter and pouring billions into radar and missile tech. Russia, strapped for cash, is trying to adapt with its Su-57 program, but it's nowhere near the same scale. And US allies? They're thrilled. Nations like Japan and Australia see the F-22 upgrades as proof that America is committed to defending the Pacific. Bottom line, this move has global consequences, and every adversary knows it. But words on paper don't matter. What really counts is whether these upgrades actually work, which is why the testing program has been relentless. Proving the beast. Of course, upgrades don't matter unless they work. That's why Edwards Air Force Base has been running relentless tests. 6 successful flights in 2024 proved the new systems work even under combat stress. Pilots reported massive improvements in awareness and response times. Simulations showed upgraded Raptors defeating advanced Chinese and Russian aircraft in scenarios where older jets would have struggled. The verdict? These Raptors aren't just modernized, they're reborn predators. And the results of those tests are already changing how Raptors are used in real operations. Let's look at the impact in combat scenarios. So what does all this mean in a real fight? It means US pilots will see further, fire first, and strike harder than anyone else. It means China's carefully built anti-air defenses can be blinded and broken. It means America's enemies can no longer assume the Pacific is theirs to control. And most importantly, it means American air dominance is future-proofed for decades to come. The F-22 Raptor was already feared. But with these upgrades, it's transforming into something beyond imagination. Infrared vision that sees stealth coatings that beat next-gen radar, weapons that kill before enemies even know they're hunted. If you're proud of our Air Force's commitment to staying ahead of every threat, type Proud Eagle in the comments. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, because the innovation never stops, and neither do we.